Hello, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to MCP Night. My name is Michael Grinich. I'm the founder of WorkOS, and we are so excited to be back here at the Regency Ballroom for the 4th MCP Night. MCP Night started off as an experiment a little over a year ago. I had been going to different types of meetups in San Francisco, seeing what people were building after work, and this MCP thing kept coming up again and again. People were showing demo apps, ways that they were extending their own LLMs. And so we said, why don't we throw an event about this? Why don't we actually kind of build like a super meetup around this? So we rented out this space called the Exploratorium, if any of you have been there, or some of you maybe were at the first MCP night. And we thought we would have maybe, I don't know, 50 to 60 people or something like that come. And actually, we ended up having over 250 people show up. There was a line down the block. And it was pretty clear that this was something different, something new, and a big shift was happening in the world of technology. Fast forward to today, same thing, hundreds and hundreds of people coming out. And what's different today is this small thing, agents. So in the last 6 months, really over the last year, but the last 6 months in particular, agentic software has changed the way that we work, it's changing the products that we're building, and we think it's going to change the world. And so tonight at MCP Night, we're doing a very special thing. We're calling this agent mode, and we're going to be talking about the future of software as it relates to agents, and some stuff that we've been building at WorkOS around authentication for agents. So I'm really excited to talk about that in a bit. Quick overview of tonight's program. First, we're going to start talking about agent auth, which I mentioned. Then we'll move into a section of lightning demos. These are one of our favorite things about MCP Night, is to bring people from the community working really at the bleeding edge of building new apps and services to show live demos to you about things that they've been making. We'll follow that with a panel, some folks that have been building for actually a few years around AI and going deep on agentic software and tools and transformation. And then last, but not least, we'll follow it up with an after party for all of you right downstairs. Please stick around for that. It's going to be great. All right, let's talk about agent auth. So to talk about agent auth, I want to go back in time a little bit and talk about the evolution of coding with agents. You know, if you went back like a year, maybe a year and change ago, this is kind of how we were writing code. You would prompt the system, and then it would spit out some code. And you would prompt it again, and it would spit out some more code. You'd prompt it again, it'd spit out some more code. You were very much the human in the loop. And this way of coding was kind of like really advanced autocomplete. If you've ever used, back in the day, something like IntelliSense, where it could figure out, method names and function calls and stuff, this was like even more intelligent autocomplete. But ultimately, you were still in the loop as a human. You needed to steer the AI. It wasn't really agentic at that point. It certainly wasn't autonomous. You would prompt, you get a change, you review it, and repeat. But something changed as the models got better and better. Eventually, you could one-shot entire features. You could drive your prompt in a way that the agent could run for a longer period of time, maybe several minutes, or in some cases, even several hours. And you could string these things together. You could decompose your problem into a bunch of small things and have the agent spin on it again and again and again, and actually have something that could run maybe for multiple hours and spit out an entire app. And this is truly the beginning of long-running agents. This ability to not just have kind of advanced autocomplete for certain functions, but build out whole capabilities. This is quite profound. I think this is something that we were all experimenting with maybe last year, if those of you that remember like Ralph loops at that time. But this was, I think, a pivotal turning moment. Of course, work is busy, so not a lot of people have that much time to experiment with this. So over the holiday break, when people actually could take time away from work, and also some of these even more advanced models came out, people started running agents in parallel. And they started finding that they could have multiple agents work together to collaborate on building systems. And this, again, is a giant leap forward in how software has been written. I think it's fair to say that software engineering has changed more in the last 4 months than it has over the last 40 years. No longer are we writing code by hand. No longer are we debugging things by hand. We are masters of the prompt. It's a man-machine symbiosis in actually how we build things. And this is a huge, huge upset in the way that engineering teams are structured, in the way that teams operate, in the way that we build stuff. It's really like, hard to overemphasize actually how big of a shift this has been. It's completely changed the software development lifecycle. And you've seen companies actually start adopting this way of working for their internal engineering teams. A few months ago, Ramp released a blog post about something they built called Inspect, which is a fully end-to-end agentic coding experience. You don't write code with Inspect, you just prompt. You can have multiple chats, it's collaborative, and you can automatically test and deploy stuff into production through Inspect. And today, I believe at Ramp, the majority of their PRs are generated by Inspect. Humans are still steering it, but agents are the ones creating it. Stripe built this as well. They have a project called Stripe Minions, kind of named after the cute, little cartoon guys. And what minions are is kind of what you'd imagine. They go off and do your bidding. You can spin them up to go build different aspects of your project. It's a full one-shot, end-to-end coding agent system. And I think at Stripe, this has over 1,000 merged PRs every week, just to give a sense of scale. At WorkOS, we've been building this too. We call ours Horizon. Horizon's our internal autonomous code factory. So this responds to events from Slack. You can tag it in. You can add it to a linear ticket. You can actually have it alert off of something from like an exception that's been thrown, like a Sentry error or a slow database query. And Horizon goes and figures out actually how to open a PR, how to make those changes, how to debug things. It's connected to all of our systems, it has context. And it's kind of like a robotic coworker that's able to write code with us. So no longer are these things just driving code, they're actually solving problems. And I think this shift is pretty analogous to what's happened with cars. So we've had cruise control for a while. We've had things like lane assist. A modern car like this has a bunch of smart features to help you drive and reduce the workload. But it still has a steering wheel. And that's kind of the human in the loop, the IDE. Still you being the person writing and reviewing code. With these agentic coding systems, it's like going full autonomous. There's no steering wheel. There's no controls. You just get in and tell it where you want to go and take a nap and wake up and you're there. You don't need an IDE. Software engineering is becoming autonomous, and it's due to these models getting better, these long-running agentic systems being able to break down complex tasks and projects and provide actually concrete, unique solutions. So what's required for this? What actually is needed for people to build these agentic systems? Well, the first thing is you need a runtime. You need somewhere that the agent can actually execute. It has to be secure. You need permissions, isolation, and scoped credentials. Second, you need tools. Stuff like GitHub, access to CI, observability, databases, feature flags, issue trackers. You need the ability to connect to services and change things and get context in. Third, you need even more context. So the tools bring some context in, but you need knowledge about the project, the wide code base, stuff like product requirements, things that might be in Notion or in your Confluence or other wiki systems. You might even bring in team conversations. Companies that have been operating in a remote way, like WorkOS, we have years and years and years of conversations between engineers, product requirement documents that we've written, transcripts from calls. We pipe all of that stuff in. Fourth, you need feedback loops. So it's not enough for the agent just to be able to write the code. It actually has to be able to test it. It has to be able to build stuff, check the results, review it, and actually verify stuff. And then last but not least, of course, you need a way for a human to review this. You're not just fully flowing the agentic coding straight into production today. Humans are involved, but we're moving up the stack. From writing each line of code to reviewing the kind of wider intent and reviewing the trade-offs and the design decisions, kind of like what a principal engineer would be doing. So these are kind of the necessary pieces to building one of these agentic coding systems, supporting agents. A lot of people describe these things together, plus the kind of runtime around it, as the harness. The harness meaning the thing that you put around the language model to actually make it effective. And I think a good metaphor for this, kind of extending the car analogy, is like the engine is your LLM. The engine is the model you're getting from one of the foundational labs. This is your Opus 4.7 or your Codex 5.5 or something. And what this is actually letting you do to put all this stuff around it is to make it effective, to actually turn it into something that you can drive, something that actually can take you places, connect it to the ground. It's the wheels, the chassis, the body, the fuel, everything that's needed to let that engine actually run and take you somewhere. And what turns out to be true is every time these models change, we have to kind of rebuild the harnesses. As model capabilities change, the way that we work with them also has to change. It's kind of like with a new engine, you need a new chassis. You can't just drop it into an existing system. And over the last 6 months, you can tell as the models have gotten better and better, the harnesses have needed to get better. And people switch between kind of the harness model combination between all of these. For agentic apps, for agentic coding systems, for stuff like Horizon, the LLM is not really the product. It's really the harness, the environment, that feedback loop. That's the product. That's the whole thing together. That's needed for this stuff to be effective. And if you can do that, you have a fully running car. We built this at WorkOS with Horizon because really we just couldn't wait for the future. I remember one of our engineers was like, isn't someone going to build a company around this? And can we just buy it? And that's true. There's a lot of folks that are working on it. But I think there's a lot of value in trying to be at the bleeding edge and take it even a step further. And so we've been investing a ton in this and exploring it. And today it powers a lot of actually our own internal engineering and PRs. Horizon ships PRs for us. The agents within it are autonomous. And what this means is that everybody at WorkOS can code. Everybody can build things and debug things. Now, these agentic systems that are autonomous, they have these emergent behaviors when you're building stuff, not just for writing code, but they're actually also good at picking their stack. And this is a lot of what I want to talk about today in terms of where the software industry is going. As agents get smarter, they can make even more decisions. So you spin up an agent, and you say, hey, I need to build this app that has these capabilities, here's my prompt. And the agent says, certainly, I'll get to work on it. And as I go through this, okay, let me pick a database, and let me pick a framework to use, and let me pick somewhere to deploy it. Let me pick a solution for all these different things. And suddenly your agent is determining your stack. And this is a huge thing. In the past, agents wouldn't do this. They would only work within an existing code base. But now agents will actually make the decision, not just of how the software is architected, but what platforms it's built on top of. They choose a database, they choose an email vendor, they choose hosting, observability, and even choosing what to use for auth. And as they make these selections, they kind of reinforce. As agents get better and better at using these things, the things that they pick tend to get better documentation and experiences for them, and then these services grow. As software becomes majority built by AI, this means that you need to think about agents as consumers for your product. Agents are kind of the new users that you're going to have within your app. And this is a pretty enormous shift that I think is happening kind of right under our eyes right now. My friend Braylon tweeted this: if your product cannot connect to my agent in some way, I'm 1,000% less likely to use it. No way I'm going to use it. And this is even more true for agents. If an agent can't connect to your product, it's kind of dead in the water. You'll only be able to sell it to those, legacy, archaic users, the human, person. So we used to talk about developer experience, building things for people, creating new SDKs, and creating delightful products. And Y Combinator has this line that they say, it makes something people want, which is really encapsulates kind of the early stages of the startup, make something people want. And I think it's actually time to revise this a little bit. And that going forward, this is going to be maybe necessary. People need to want what you're building, but it's not sufficient. And you'll also need to be able to make something agents want. You need to make something agents want for your product to grow. And in fact, the agent users might be more valuable than the human users, which sounds kind of crazy right now, but we can spawn agents faster, there's more of them, these systems grow faster. What happened with agentic coding that I talked about a few minutes ago, I think it's going to happen everywhere, in every industry. It's going to happen in marketing, sales, finance, legal. It's going to happen in every single domain of tools. These agentic systems will be able to go out and pick whatever systems and infrastructure. they'll be able to go reserve hotels for you and book flights and many, many other things. And the systems that provide capabilities to agents are the ones that will win in that new economy. We have a small set of humans today, but there's going to be even more agents in the future. And right now, they're kind of stuck. If you think about the web era of selling to people, maybe 20 years ago or so, 30 years ago, we then had mobile, and that unlocked more. Agents are on a different scale, and they're just waiting for you to open your door to them for business. So this all sounds great, I think, and hopefully I've convinced you that this is like a big sea change happening, and there's a big opportunity here for you all to build new products for agents. But there's a problem. Of course, there's MCP, and there's different protocols for connecting to agentic systems. There's harnesses out there, there's different models, there's different sandbox providers, there's systems that do memory, there's systems that do all these different things. But there's something that we found that's missing around this. And it's pretty simple, and it's kind of crazy that it's missing, and that is agentic registration. This is a missing primitive right now for agents. How do you actually let an agent sign up for your stuff? Most of the automated services on the web, or the login pages on the web, they're designed to block automated behavior. Agents really can't get through them. They get confused. It's not as simple as just a email and password field. Agents might not have an email address. They might not have a password manager. They might be blocked for their IP bot type of behavior within these sites. And so we've spent decades trying to limit the amount of automated behavior on the web. And suddenly now we have the opposite problem, where we want to let the automated stuff in. Agentic registration is pretty different than human registration. Today's sign-up flow, it assumes that a human can read your landing page, that a human can fill out a form, that they can solve this CAPTCHA, that they can do all this stuff, that they can verify their email address. This is decades of what we've built up around. And agents are totally different. Agent registration needs the ability to be discovered, needs automated discovery and capability declaration. What can this thing do? It needs to be able to provide intent when something is registering, and a bunch of other things, risk assessment, identity verification, delegation. We're here at MCP Night. I'm probably a bigger MCP stan than anybody. And I'm sad to say that actually MCP is not enough for this. MCP is great. It's a great way for exchanging context, calling tools, agents interfacing with other agents, users interfacing with agents, but it's not enough. The MCP authentication layer does not provide this. It requires a human to be in the loop through the OAuth flow. We talked about that at previous events. You still have to consent to connect it to your systems. We need something that's actually automated with this. We need something different. We need something built first and foremost on primitives for agents. So we've been working on this for the last few months. I mean, we've really been thinking about it for probably over a year, and going back and forth on different designs and trying to figure out something that's the simplest way that we can start to introduce this to the world so people can start building on top of it. So today, we're really, really excited to showcase this to you, and we're calling it Auth.md. So what is Auth.md? Well, Auth.md is a system. It's really kind of a spec. It's not a standard. It's not something ratified by the IETF. Please don't come with your pitchforks and torches for me. It's not a standard. It's just a set of ideas and a set of principles that allows you to take your application and expose it to agents, to allow agents to come register for it, to sign up and use your app, use your service. Auth.md tells agents how they can become legitimate users in your system, not get flagged as spam, not be like fake humans that are signing up, not impersonate people, but actually register as an agentic user. And the goal here is to give these service providers, you, building apps, an agent-native sign-up experience that's built on existing standards instead of inventing some new religion or some new crazy doctrine. The spec is really short. There's a lot of stuff that it doesn't handle and a lot of stuff that we're opening up as extensions that you could add to it later. The problem this is really just trying to solve is how an agent can sign up for your service, get a token, and actually start using it. And that developer on the other side, or the agent, maybe that's autonomous running, can just get back to work, building their app and shipping their product. What does Auth.md do? What can it answer? Well, it can say, what does the service do? It can tell an agent how to register. It can say what identity proofs are accepted. How can an agent prove that it is who it says it is? What auth flows are supported. There's different ways of actually authenticating. What scopes and entitlements that exist. That's kind of like permissions or capabilities. And what free tier constraints apply. So, as an agent signs up, what does it need to do before what can it do before it pays? What's the free kind of gated experience? And last but not least, how does a human then, or an organization, claim the account? If it starts off with an agent, how can the agent pass it off to the person or the organization or the team that's using it? So we've built kind of the initial version of this, and we've been working on it with some partners. And for the very first time, we're really excited to show it to you. And in true WorkOS fashion, we're going to do this as a live demo. What do you think? Well, please keep that applause going and give a very, very, very warm welcome to Madison from WorkOS to show you the very first version of Agent.md.
Hi, everybody. I'm an engineer on the WorkOS AuthKit team, and I'm excited to talk to you about what we've been thinking for agentic registration. The idea is that agents should be able to sign up for services on behalf of users without taking you out of your agent context. So what I have set up here is a harness with Acme agent. You can imagine that this is an agent provider with an identity. So your Cloud Code, Codex, Cursor style agent. And I'm authenticated. I've device authed into this as Madison at workos.bot, and it knows who I am. I have a session. The agent is asking if I want to keep working on my Svelte app. I have been working on a personal website that I'm pretty excited about. It talks a little bit about me and my hobbies, has a guest book and a web ring, and I've been trying to send this to my friends, but this localhost URL is not working. Let's see if the agent can help. Okay, the agent's telling me that localhost only works on my machine, and then if I want to share it with my friends, I have to deploy it somewhere. It's also letting me know that there are some providers for deployments where it can do all the work for me. It can create an account, give me an API key, and do all the work. That sounds great. I don't want to do any of that. Okay, so now it's looking for a deploy provider that supports agent auth. You can look, it's looking at Stratus/Auth.md, doesn't exist. Helio deploy/Auth.md doesn't exist, but Cloudflare does have an Auth.md file. So it knows that Cloudflare supports agent registration, and it can set this up for me. That is awesome. I've heard of Cloudflare. I want to use that. And now it's confirming that I want to use my Acme identity, Madison at workos.bot, to register for a Cloudflare account. And I do want to do that. And what it's doing now is it's taking my Acme session and converting it into what's called an ID-JAG. It stands for Identity Assertion JWT Authorization Grant. And Cloudflare trusts Acme. It knows that we take email verification very seriously because we have tokens to protect. So it is OK with creating an account based on that ID-JAG. And it's returning an API token and an account ID and setting it up in the environment. So I'm all set up to use the Wrangler CLI, and it has created a subdomain for me where I can deploy. It's also letting me know that, there need to be a few small changes to my app in order for it to work well with Cloudflare. So it's swapping out the default adapter for the Cloudflare adapter to make sure that the bundle works seamlessly with Cloudflare. And I'm all set up. But I am getting cold feet a little bit. I remember websites from this period being a little bit more exciting than the one that I've put together. So I'm going to ask it for some retro inspo for a redesign. And what this is going to do is it's actually going to use Firecrawl, which is excellent at scraping the web and turning unstructured data into JSON. And it's going to do the same thing that we did to set up the Cloudflare account. It's asking if I want to do this with my Acme identity, and I do. It's issuing a new ID-JAG specific to Firecrawl, sending that to them, and setting up a new account. And it's returning an API key that we can use to hit up the Firecrawl API. And so now it is looking at the Web Design Museum for some inspiration. We've given it a prompt asking it to pull out some personal homepages with a specific aesthetic, and we want to return some fields about this, like key elements, color palette, that sort of thing. And when it's done scraping the collections, it's going to coalesce those into some options that we can choose from to reskin the site. So that's done. It's scraped the 5 sites, it's coalescing the results, and it's going to present me with 3 options that we can choose from for our redesign. Okay, we have option 1, Y2K. Option 2, bad and ugly. Option 3, pixel art. Clap if you want option 1. Okay. Option 2? Option 3? All right. I think pixel art actually beat out bad and ugly by a hair. So let's do pixel art. And while this is redesigning things, we did talk a bit about ID-JAG. It sounds really obscure. It's an existing spec, and I just wanted to show you what an ID-JAG actually looks like. So I saved the one that we sent to Cloudflare, and we're going to decode it. And it's just a JWT. It has a specific header that identifies that it's an ID-JAG, and then it has fields about who I am, that my email has been verified. If Cloudflare got an ID-JAG that said that the email was verified was false, it wouldn't want to issue a new account for me. The trust relationship really is this email verified field. It includes the issuer, which is the Acme bot, and the audience, which is Cloudflare. That's it. That's all Cloudflare needs in order to set up a new account for us. If we go back here, this should be wrapping up any minute now. Awesome. And now that it's done reskinning, it's going to use the Wrangler CLI to deploy the app to our subdomain that we provisioned at the beginning. And that's done, and it has a link for us. And all right, pixel art. So this is live on Cloudflare. I was able to do this without ever leaving my terminal, and I'm super excited about that. Thank you to our partners at Cloudflare and Firecrawl for setting this up in their products so that we could show it to you. Thank you to the team at WorkOS for shipping this with me, and thank you to all of you for checking it out.
Keep it going for Madison. First live demo of the night. So cool. It's like magic. That actually works. We've been building that with both Cloudflare and Firecrawl for the last few weeks. When we reached out to them and we were like, hey, we have this kind of crazy idea, engineers at both of those companies were like, we are so down. Let's build this together. This is what you just saw. This is how Auth.md works. You have your coding harness. In that example, it was Pi. And underneath that, of course, it has the LLM, it has memory. And the example that Madison walked through there was interactive, right? Because she was demoing it and talking with us and showing it. But you can imagine your harness could just go do this on its own. It was just asking her for consent. It was just saying, do you want to sign up for Cloudflare or not? But you could definitely instruct your coding agent to say, go pick a bunch of stuff. Go pick the best things that are out there and just use those. Behind the coding harness, the coding agent, is a backing identity service. And in this example, that was actually the WorkOS.bot example. But that can be anything in the Auth.md spec. It can be an identity service like WorkOS. It could be your existing identity system. This is very flexible. You can go build it yourself. And it can actually even be anonymous. So this is something, as you go look at the docs later, you can allow your service to have anonymous signups for agents and then have them claimed by people later. And obviously, you need to be careful with that, but it's really, really, really powerful for services on the web. The flow is that the agent figures out what services are available to it through discovery. There's that standard /auth.md endpoint. You can also list it in your lms.txt or your docs file. The agent will send that ID-JAG file, that ID-JAG assertion, really that token, and it receives back an access token. And now that access token is just your normal access token that you can have. After that, the agent can just hit your normal API, work with MCP, do whatever it wants. So this spec is really pretty tight. It's actually just that identity presentation, the ID-JAG exchange, and the token resolution. It doesn't do a lot of crazy stuff around permissions. It doesn't do everything under the sun. You don't have to use it for your agent runtime. You don't have to use it for other credentials. It just solves that really first kind of hairy problem around agent registration. And I think this is really important to be an open spec for the web. I think this is so important for agents to be able to go sign up for services and go interact, that this shouldn't be a single company owning it. It shouldn't be WorkOS owning it. It shouldn't be gated behind something else. It shouldn't be Cloudflare owning it. It should be something that everybody should be able to implement and build on top of for your own apps and services. Our hope is that this actually opens your doors to agent users. You can allow them to come register, allow them to come sign up, allow them to actually deploy things in user service. And the end state of this, I think, is agents will also be able to pay. They'll actually be able to exchange value. Take my money, the agent says. And this will be the beginning, really, of this new kind of agent economy. Agents will be able to pay for services, use things, and actually transact on the web. But I think we need to fix the registration problem first. Payments come later. It's just like any app you would build today, right? You're not going to put a credit card form on your sign-up page. Why should that be the case for agents? They should be able to register first and then pay later. But we're very excited about extending it to this. At WorkOS, we've spent many years talking about enterprise ready. If you go to our homepage, it says, your app enterprise ready. And what that really means is helping you as developers take whatever you've built, whatever SaaS products, and go sell it to bigger and bigger customers. Go up market, land your biggest deal, work with the biggest companies in the world, and do it securely. And I think agent ready is actually the next enterprise ready. In a lot of ways, we're just doing the same thing with agents that we've been doing with the enterprise, trying to democratize access to it and make it possible for any of them to use your stuff. The thing is, every company will have agents. And they'll have more agents than people. And the agents don't sleep. They don't get tired. They work 24/7 trying to solve problems. The world will really be run by agents. And so, you need to build for them. And if this sounds too far out, if this sounds kind of crazy, or this is like, subculture within Silicon Valley, it's like a very far future. It might be a little bit, but I want to show you this tweet from Mark Benioff. And Mark Benioff is the founder and CEO of Salesforce. And yes, it's that Salesforce, the one with the big building, the biggest building in San Francisco. Salesforce is not a new company. They've been around for decades. They're one of the world's largest software companies. In many ways, they're considered a legacy player. But they're not sleeping on this, on agents. Salesforce is making their entire service agent ready. Our API is the UI. The entire Salesforce, Agentforce, and Slack platforms are now exposed as APIs, MCP, and CLI. That's crazy. They sell their dashboard. The UI is the thing that everyone uses. They make billions and billions and billions of dollars a year on this. And yet, Mark is saying, that doesn't matter anymore. The API is what matters. This is the future of agent ready. This is the future of actually agents interfacing with services. This isn't just a threat to the Salesforce business. This isn't defensive. They see it as their biggest opportunity, their biggest growth dimension, the way that even more people can come use Salesforce and build on top of it. And the same is true for all of your products and all of your apps. So this is Auth.md. We're launching a new site on this today. It's available right now. Inside of it, it has docs, It has getting started guides. It has tutorials for how to implement it, whether you want to be like a coding agent or a service provider, one or the other. You can either present the identity or receive the identity. It's really easy to integrate. We made it super, super easy. Your agent can go integrate it. How meta is that? It allows you to take your app and add these agent-native features. And we're layering in things like permissions, and even down the line, human verification into it for the transfer. But the first step around registration, we think we have a pretty good solution for it. It's an open spec. Anybody can implement it. You just have to host your own Auth.md file. And if you happen to be using our products, if you're using WorkOS AuthKit, you can turn this on with just one click. You just turn it on, and you can have agents start signing up for your service. Pretty cool. So that's Auth.md. Thanks. We're super excited about this. We can already tell something like this is going to be big. Either us or somebody else. We wanted to kickstart it and get feedback from all of you. So my homework to all of you after tonight's event, go home, check this out, build something with it, and send me an email about it. DM me on Twitter, scream it from the top of the mountaintops, come by our office, come to a meetup, show us what you're actually building with it. We want all of you to be able to give feedback on it. This is not just a one-way directional presentation. We want to hear from you.